All right, this next one's for all three of us. It's from Mineral Dream. It said, "What inspired you guys to become Christian apologists?" I'm gonna start with vocab.
Yeah, I am a retired Christian hip hop artist, and so for a long time,
Semi-retired.
semi-retired.
We
I don't
occasionally
know,
get
man.
them to
Yeah,
spit some.
but is that Christian hip hop? I mean,
A little something.
I'm doing atheist raps and stuff like that coming up.
Well, it's for a Christian purpose.
Okay,
For purposes of parody. Good.
yeah. So now I'm a parody rapper, but I mean, and what I would do in part is take other MCs and go out in street scenarios and settings and neighborhoods and stuff like that, and we would basically rap to people with the intention to try to get them to talk to us. And so a lot of freestyle and stuff, and then try to essentially share the gospel in a freestyle rap format. We actually called it freestyle witnessing. This is what we would do. And a lot of what we did transition into college campuses and stuff. And this was right around the time of the sort of neo-atheist explosion. All the Dockanites were coming out and all of that stuff. And so a lot of these conversations transitioned into issues of either urban apologetic issues or issues on atheism especially. And, you know, at a certain point you stop rapping and freestyling and having conversations with people. And then from there, because we would go out every week sometimes, I would take down objections, think about what people were saying, go back, study it, read. And I already had an interest in this, but it just really fed it and just kind of was constantly accelerating my desire to understand the Christian faith and how to discuss any type of problems that people thought Christianity might have in relationship to key doctrines and all that. And so I was buying books, listening to all kinds of things on the radio, just more and more. And eventually my desire became less to do the rap part of it and just to try to go have conversations with people to discuss these apologetic issues. And that just grew and grew, where the next thing basically I knew I was enrolled in seminary. And it just went on from there, really. But it began really with street witnessing through evangelism.
So, what about you, Wood?
I think there's a reason that you see lots of apologists who are like, you know, they're former atheists or former Muslim, former something, right? And part of the reason is you find out along the way that you were wrong about something. And then you realize, hey, I was wrong. I didn't have this information. And once I had the information, I wanted to change my position. But I didn't have the information. I didn't have that my entire life until someone came along and I got that information, or until I read this book and I got that information. Why don't other people know this? And so you want to, it's like you want to give people, you know, what you didn't have, so that they're not in the same boat that you were in. And so as far as me personally, I mean, I was in a jail cell with an apparently completely ruined life, based on me being completely convinced that my worldview was true and following it to its conclusion. And then I found out, oh, my worldview is actually ridiculous, and this other thing is true. And I knew that if I had known these things, right? If I'd known that all the evidence we have tells us that Jesus died, and all the evidence we have tells us that he was alive again later, I wouldn't have been so confident to do a lot of the things I'd done along the way. And so it was, why? I mean, I knew Christians. When I visited my grandma, I would go to church. So, you know, I'm in church periodically growing up. When I got into conversations with Christians along the way, I would challenge them. They would immediately back down, right? They don't want to have an argument, right? And so why, for all these years, does no one give me this very basic information which every Christian should always be aware of? Why is that? And the answer is just sort of fell out of use among Christians. And so I basically don't want people growing up in that situation where they have no idea that there's any evidence at all for Christianity, or that they think atheism is the most reasonable position because they hear atheists saying it so much and they think that they're right without actually examining it. I want people to have more information so that they can make informed decisions and not horrible decisions. And so when you want to do that, you become an apologist. But with that said, Christians in general are supposed to be apologists to some extent, right? That's a command. 1 Peter 3:15 is a command to always be prepared to give a defense for the hope that you have. That's a command to Peter's not saying that to Christian scholars. This is Peter, a fisherman, saying this. Peter, the fisherman, says you always need to be prepared. But guess what? You know, who's Peter? Peter's not some brilliant scholar. He's a regular guy. He's a regular working class guy. Guess what? If you told Peter, hey, I think Christianity is stupid, you're going to get a good answer for why he believes in Christianity. You're going to get a good answer. This is not some guy who spent years studying. So you can be different kinds of apologists. You can be full-time apologists or scholarly level apologists, street apologists, whatever. But there is a sense in which all Christians are supposed to be apologists, and I would say that Christians in general should learn things like why you believe in the resurrection, why you believe in the deity of Christ. You should know that. Doesn't mean you have to be prepared for every encounter with every other group out there, but on the basics, on those very basic issues, that makes sense. If you're growing up as a Christian, why do I believe in the resurrection? It makes sense to ask. So, one, everyone should be apologists, and so that would include us. But you know, why we focus on it more than most people? Well, reasons for that.
What about you, John? How'd you get into apologetics?
Yeah, so for me, I'll eventually, I got a lot of questions about like my testimony, and I'll eventually get a video out on that. But kind of to skip ahead, I wasn't raised in a church going home, so I wasn't obviously aware of even basic Christian like doctrine and stuff like that. But anyways, long story, a little bit later, I was agnostic for a long time, and like some days I was like, there's got to be a God out there, you know what I mean? And some days I was like, oh no, we're all alone in this big universe, right? And so eventually I went to college, and I was just like, I just was interested in taking a world religion class because I was just curious kind of what all the different faiths believed. And so the world religion class was filled up or something like that, and they said, well, there's a philosophy of religion class you can take. And so I was like, well, I didn't even know what philosophy was, but I was like, I guess I'll just take it and just kind of see. And I figured if I didn't like it, I would just drop out. And when I took that class, so we had a textbook and we went through kind of a lot of the basic arguments. And the Kalam cosmological argument was one that really just stuck with me. Like, I spent a lot of time thinking about it. I was like, you don't presuppose God for this or whatever. It's like, you kind of, if these premises are true, you prove God by necessity without assuming them in advance. And that was really compelling to me. And so I remember like, after going through this argument and thinking about it for a while, I remember saying to myself, I was like, I believe in God now, you know, and that just kind of stuck with me. So, and I'll talk about this in the other video too, but after that, I spent a lot of time going to a bunch of different churches and looking at various different beliefs. And so before I went to these churches, I tried to look up some stuff about them online or something like that. And I started coming across a lot of stuff with the resurrection. So I started reading a lot of stuff on the resurrection and stuff like that. And then eventually I just, in my mind, I was like, Christianity is the only religion that actually corresponds with reality. It's like, it's not these stories that are just internal and everybody's kind of giving their own kind of personal story. It's not just that. You also have like all this evidence from all these different fields confirming data from Christianity to be true. So that's what I thought was like the most moving. And so, yeah, that's it.
And for people who are wondering what you just meant with Kalam cosmological argument, if they don't follow you before, you should put up link right like here to Craig's animated video on the Kalam cosmological argument, and then you will all know what he was just talking about.
Yep, I'll do that. What's up, guys? Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And just so you know, this video is part of a series of videos that is going to be released over the next couple of months, slowly but surely. And those videos are going to include interviews with David Wood, Vocab Malone, and myself. So if this is your first time here, go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below. And also make sure you hit the bell so that way you make sure not to miss any of our new content. All right? I'll see you guys soon. Peace.